And I now give the floor to the representative of Pakistan.
Thank you, Madam President. It is a sad day, another low in the history of this august body that is entrusted with primary responsibility for the maintenance of international peace and security. Pakistan deeply regrets the failure of this Council to adopt the draft resolution tabled by the 10 elected members, and which was an effort to address one of the most grave and sustained humanitarian catastrophes of our time. Once again, the elected members have shown that they are here, ready and willing to fully assume the responsibilities that have been entrusted to them by being members of this Council on behalf of the general membership. Madam President, we are appalled that this Council once again stands immobilized in the face of mass suffering, atrocity, and unfolding tragedy. The veto cast today sends an extremely dangerous message that the lives of over 2 million Palestinians, besieged, starved, and relentlessly bombarded, are dispensable. This will remain not only a moral stain on the conscience of this Council, but a fateful moment of political abdication that will reverberate for generations. We have heard yet again the familiar refrain that this is not the right time and that space must be given to ongoing negotiations. But how much more space do we need? Space filled with rubble, graves, and the anguished cries of children. How much more time do we need? What amount of evidence do we need before we say enough and put to stop this barbarity and savagery perpetrated under a brutal occupation? While this Council deliberated and delayed, Gaza has been decimated. This is no longer a humanitarian crisis. It is a collapse of humanity and of international law and all that this Council is supposed to stand for. As the President of the ICRC noted, Gaza is worse than hell on earth. Over 54,000 civilians have been killed, among them 28,000 women and girls, and 18,000 children. In the last 24 hours alone, nearly 100 Palestinians have been killed and more than 400 wounded. Entire neighborhoods lie in ruin. Famine stalks the land. Disease and despair now spread more quickly than any aid can arrive. And while Gaza bleeds and this Council has been muzzled, the world has spoken. The International Court of Justice has issued binding provisional measures. The General Assembly has adopted numerous resolutions. The United Nations, humanitarian organizations, global civil society, people on the streets across the world, and increasingly voices from within Israel itself have recognized that what is unfolding is not merely war, but the systematic destruction of a people. War crimes, genocide. Madam President, in one of the most chilling developments, Palestinian civilians have been shot and killed while attempting to access food. And we think that to kill innocent civilians for seeking bread and water is not only a war crime, it is a tragic indictment of a system that criminalizes survival and militarizes humanitarian aid in flagrant violation of international humanitarian law. Aid dropped from the sky or delivered under armed escort is not a solution. It is a spectacle. And to defend these arrangements is not pragmatism. It is a moral failure. It is totally unacceptable. The draft resolution before us today was objective, balanced, principled, and rooted firmly in the UN Charter and the most basic tenets of humanitarian law. It asks for no more than what any human being deserves: food for starving children, medicine for the wounded, shelter for the displaced, the right to life, an end to killing, therefore. And it also asks for the release of the hostages. And it is also supporting the efforts that are underway to bring about a ceasefire. That even such modest, urgent demands could not pass underscores the depth of this Council's dysfunction. Let us be clear. This failure will not go down in records as a mere procedural footnote. It will be remembered as a complicity, a green light for continued annihilation, a moment where the entire world was expecting action, but yet again this Council was blocked and prevented by one member from carrying out its responsibility. Pakistan reaffirms its unwavering support for the Palestinian people in their just struggle for dignity, justice, and self-determination. We reiterate our calls for an immediate, unconditional, and permanent ceasefire, full, unfettered humanitarian access, and an end to the inhumane blockade of Gaza. A just, lasting, and comprehensive solution to the question of Palestine, rooted in international law and based on the establishment of a viable, contiguous, and sovereign Palestinian state on pre-1967 borders with Al-Quds al-Sharif as its capital in accordance with relevant UN resolutions. History will judge how each member of this Council chose to respond at this hour of moral reckoning. Together with the majority of the Council members, Pakistan stands firmly on the side of humanity, of legality, and justice. We urge the holdouts to do the same before Gaza becomes not only a wound on the world's conscience, but a permanent scar on the credibility of this Council. And President, but we don't end here. We are not going to lay idle. We are going to continue and redouble our efforts for the cause of peace in line with our responsibility as a responsible member of this Council. We will continue to call for accountability and an end to impunity that Israel, the occupying power, continues to enjoy. We shall continue to recall and remind that the root cause of the problem, the challenges confronting the region, is the decades-long illegal Israeli occupation of the Arab lands, including the occupied Palestinian territories. The way forward, in our view, is in addressing and tackling that root cause head-on. That is by ending the occupation. It is not by mercilessly and mindlessly killing the Palestinians, who are the oppressed people in this case, or by making them starve, or by trying to evict them from their lands, or by suppressing their voice, or by denying them their legitimate and internationally recognized right to self-determination. Because we know that that's not going to work. For the brave, dignified, and resilient people of Palestine are not going to give up. They are not going to give up their right, and they are not alone. The entire international community is on their side. That support is going to be evident later this month at the General Assembly, not this Council, but at the General Assembly, where the international conference, the high-level conference on Palestine and the two-state solution is going to be held. And we are certain that it will be a resounding call for the Palestinian rights and irreversible path to two-state solution and Palestinian statehood and full membership of the United Nations. We shall revert to the Council as and when required, as has been said by the distinguished representative of Algeria, and we expect that the Council will shoulder its responsibility towards Palestine and in the interest of maintaining peace and security in the Middle East. I thank you.